Let's go to Charlie in Knoxville, Tennessee. Charlie, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question about discouragement with a job.
Okay.
So I got my undergrad and master's both in theological education, and my desire, my vision has always been to get a doctorate to teach at a seminary, university level.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, I got a job. Me and my family moved from South Carolina to Knoxville to teach at a private Christian school. Well, in May, found out I wasn't going to get a contract. So I'm kind of stuck without, a teaching job. So I couldn't really further that. So now I'm really in a job that pays, it pays the bills, but it's not really something I'm passionate about. So I'm trying to figure out, do I still pursue a theological degree, a PhD, without, possible a job, or should I do a different avenue?
Well,
that's really my question. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
I understand what you're asking, but I don't think your question makes sense, because the reality is that your dream is really clear. Yes or no?
It is.
Yeah. And so you want to teach on the doctorate level in theology, correct?
Correct.
So there's a doctorate you must have to be able to teach theology at the level you want to teach. Am I understanding that?
That's correct.
Well, then you got to do that. So just because you're out of a teaching job right now, this may be a blessing. I know it doesn't feel like a blessing. I'm not saying it is a blessing, but I'm saying it might be in that you're going to have to get the doctorate anyway. So what you've got to do is your day job in it right now, you keep looking to get back into teaching. So you keep looking. You're just like everybody else in the COVID or regular times that something changes and you get kicked out of the nest. I don't think that you change the nest that you want to be in. Not in this situation.
The other possibility I was thinking of, because I've had most of my mentors in, the field that I want to be in, they've strongly discouraged me. I mean, not discouraged me, but they've sort of like, hey, there's more positions than there's more applicants than there are positions. So it's a very competitive market. You might not even get a job in what you're wanting to do. So the other avenue was like, I could do it on YouTube. So I could do YouTube channels and sort of fulfill that same desires, but it doesn't really bring any income. So I'm like, immediate income. So what do I do in that case? I don't know if that sort of the struggle is.
You know what?
Keep my daytime job, but do I pursue that as a better alternative?
I don't know that it's an alternative. I think it's a both and. And I think that while you're trying to save up the money for the doctorate, because you're going to save that money up, correct?
Correct.
How long is it going to take you to save it up?
Oh man.
Quick answer. Don't overthink it. Okay, let's say 3 years.
All right, 2 years.
All right.
Yeah.
So you could start your YouTube channel tonight. Start teaching. Start sharing lessons on theology. That's what you love. So my answer is yes, both and. But you don't have to give up the idea of being getting a doctorate and teaching on that level just because it's competitive, just because you don't have a doctorate. No, we're going to get the day job, which you've done, check. And if you need to get a better day job that pays you more money, check, go do that. All the while, you're teaching 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week on YouTube. And you're building and try to build it. It will eventually turn into revenue if you stay with it long enough. And you put out some stuff that you're passionate about. And YouTube, by the way, is making you better. And it might actually be down the line, Charlie, the differentiator for you, where you're up applying for these positions after you get the doctorate, and you're up against other people, and they don't have a YouTube channel with 15,000 subscribers or whatever you have.
That's true.
I know it's true.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, do YouTube. Yes, save up the money for the doctorate. Yes, get your doctorate. Yes, put yourself out there and use the proximity principle and the web of connections and beat out everybody else because you've got better relationships because it's about who you know, not what you know in theology.
Definitely.
Do you have my book, The Proximity Principle?
I do not.
All right. I'm not going to ask you why you don't, but today you have it because it is the answer. The proximity principle says in order to do what Charlie wants to do, he's got to be around people that are doing it and in places where it is happening, which means you got to start hanging around other theology professors and get yourself a really strong network and connection of those men and women around the country. And then you, as COVID opens up and opportunities present themselves, you've got to be going to conventions and online groups and getting super connected.
Okay.
Because that's where the job opportunity is going to come. You know it and I know it, don't you?
I do.
I'm teaching on it later in the program. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I know you got another question, but listen to me. Hold on, Charlie. Charlie, hold on, man. Listen to me. I want to make sure you got what I'm telling you. You've got to read this book, and you've got to do it because it's going to make the difference, okay? All right, go ahead. What's your question?
Well, the follow-up question I have is, in the meantime, the day job that I have, I haven't had any success with resumes or any type of, with no experience. I feel like that's one thing that my degree has done, is sort of crippled me from other possibilities, or at least it seems like that. So how do I get a day job that can produce money, good money that I can provide for the family until that comes? The YouTube, that's really been the struggle that I have as well. Like right now I'm in remodeling, which is great, but it's just barely paying the bills. And I have a kid on the way, which I'm excited
so here's
about.
the deal. Here's the deal. You either go get a better day job that doesn't require a bunch of experience. This is the problem. We get these calls all the time. Ken, I want this kind of job, but it says I need experience. Well, there's no shortcut to that.
Yeah.
So you don't want a day job that requires a bunch of experience. You don't have time for that.
That's true.
So go get a day job that doesn't require a bunch of experience. What are you making right now as a remodeler?
About $2,000 a month.
Yeah. No, you could go deliver pizzas full time and make more than that.
Yeah. You're right.
I know. So start looking for jobs that are labor intensive. My dad was a pastor, retired recently after 47 years, Charlie. When he planted the second church that he planted when I was 12, my dad worked on a construction crew and dug ditches and was a laborer and made really good hourly money because because as a pastor, it was the only thing he could do that would make that kind of money that got us through until the church grew to the point that he could be full time. He went out and worked his butt off, and he made at that time a really good hourly wage. But right now, $2,000 isn't going to cut it. But I would go get a full-time job that brings in way more than the $2,000. That's just good old hustle, whether you're driving delivery, you're working in a warehouse, you're working on a construction crew. None of that requires experience. It requires character and hard work. You know it and I know it. And then if you want to keep making money on the side as a remodeler, that becomes extra money.
Yeah.
So I would do the remodeling, and then I would go bust your butt in 40 hours doing something else, and that takes care of the basics. But you have got to keep going forward on this. This is for the next couple years, man. This is grind it out. Grind it out. The dream doesn't come easy.